All right, welcome back to the exciting book of Genesis. We are still in the beginning, and we're going to take a look at chapter 7. Hallelujah. All right, so jumping right in. Let me have our first reader read Genesis chapter 7, verses 1 through 3.
And Yahuwah said unto Noah, Come thou and all thy house into the ark, for thee have I seen righteousness before me in this generation. But the Comforter, which is Ruach HaKodesh, whom the Father will send in my name, of every clean beast thou shalt take to thee by sevens, the male and his female, and the beasts that are not clean by two, the male and his female, of the fowls also of the air by sevens, the male and the female, to keep seed alive upon the face of the earth.
Hallelujah. Okay, so here it is in verse 1. We see that Yahuwah said unto Noah, come down all thy house into the ark, for I have seen righteousness before me in this generation. Okay, so we're going to pick it up from where we left off last week. In chapter 6, we were showing where, even as Yah said, he tells the end from the beginning. We were showing how the beginning related to the end. Amen. And so that's what we're going to pick it up from now today. And we spoke, then, much of the symbolism that's involved and how it coincides with the end times. And so we're going to continue on in that scheme of things, today. So, just as a reminder, Noah means comforter and symbolically speaks of the Ruach HaKodesh, Yochanan 14:26. But the comforter, which is Ruach HaKodesh, see, I didn't make it up, whom the Father will send in my name, he shall teach you all things and bring all things to your remembrance whatsoever I have said unto you. All right, so we see Noah is symbolized by the Ruach HaKodesh. And then we're told, that the comforter, or that Noah, in verse 2, we're told of every clean beast thou shalt take to thee by sevens, the male and his female, and other beasts that are not clean by two, the male and his female, and other fowls also of the air by sevens. So excuse me. So this, we see here that the Ruach HaKodesh is, as we say, there's an ark that's being built, and we need to get in that ark. Amen? Amen. All right, and in that ark, there's going to be Noah and his family. There's going to be the family members. And there's going to be, we spoke of the family members being Israel, the family of Elohim, amen. And there's going to be beasts. We spoke of the beasts representing the Gentiles, amen. Amen. Okay. Now, it's clear to see it speaks of clean beasts, but it also speaks of beasts that are not clean by two, male and his female. So we see here that Noah is called to come to build this ark, and he's called to bring upon his ark the clean and the unclean. And this got me to contemplating, well, you going to take the unclean on the ark as well? The unclean are going to be saved? And so this proposed a problem. I don't know. And so, he blessed me with the understanding to know what he was speaking of, and we're going to get into that today. If we take a look at, we're not going to get into it right now, I guess. We'll circle back. So what we are going to get into right now, it says in verse 4, Genesis 7:4 says, For yet 7 days I will cause it to rain upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights, and every living substance that I have made will I destroy from off the face of the earth. So it says for yet 7 days. So we're going to deal with these 7 days. I just want to deal with this right now, because even as Yah tells the end from the beginning, we should be able to find a similar warning concerning the end times. And we can. But first we must decode the text. So the first clue is the 7 days. So we see that Yah's giving them a warning 7 days out, and telling them he'll cause it to rain, 40 days and 40 nights, and he's going to destroy everything, right? Mm-hmm. So if he gave Noah in the beginning, if he gave him a warning 7 days ahead of time, then we should know and be able to trust and find that he's going to give us a 7-day notice as well. Amen? Make sense? Amen. All right, so armed with that, we're going to figure this out. Well, so first of all, we need to decode it. So 7 days. So the first thing that should come to mind is 7, the meaning of the number 7. The number 7 speaks to spiritual completeness in the heavenlies and the earthly. So in the earthly realm as well as the heavenly realm, we're talking about spiritual completeness. So we're talking about a time when things are spiritually complete in both places. But that doesn't really give us too much to go on. But that's what 7 speaks to. Now, how about days? So we know that it's 7 days. Now, the key to this is to understand an alternate understanding of a day. What'd you say?
Oh, sorry, 1,000 years?
No.
No?
Good guess, though. We have to remember Genesis 1:5. It says, and Elohim called the light what? Day. And darkness he called night, and the evening and the morning was the first day. So, knowing that day equals light, we know that also light equals day, right? Mm-hmm. So, he says for 7 days, he's going to give a warning 7 days out. So, 7 days can also be interpreted as 7 lights. Everybody with me?
Yeah.
All right, because day equals light. That's Yah said that himself, right?
Yeah.
So 7 days equals 7 lights. So now we search the scriptures to see if we can figure out, are there 7 lights that come before Yah's going to destroy the earth? And surely there is. I was about to say bet you a bottom dollar, but I don't bet. So we take a look at Revelation 1:20, and what do we find? Lo and behold, it says the mystery of the 7 stars which thou sawest in my right hand, and the 7 golden candlesticks. The 7 stars are the 7 angels to the 7 churches, and the 7 candlesticks which thou sawest are 7 churches. Okay, so we see in the end times in Revelations we have 7 stars, right? We have 7 angels of the 7 churches, and we have 7 candlesticks. Candlesticks are what? Light, right? So can you not see that we have 7 lights here? Huh? Yes. 7 lights. And we know now these 7 lights are put upon candlesticks, and the candlesticks are the churches, and we're talking about the 7 churches of the end times. Amen? Amen. Everybody still with me? All right. Now, I'm just not going to leave you with let every matter be established out of 2 to 3 witnesses, right? So I'm going to give you another witness, Revelation 4:5, and it says, and out of the throne proceeded lightnings and thunderings and voices, and there were 7 lamps. There go your seven lamps, your 7 lights again, burning before the throne, which are the 7 Rukot of Elohim. So here it is, we see that there are 7 lights burning before the throne, which are the 7 spirits of Elohim.
Hallelujah.
So, and these 7 spirits that are sent unto the 7 churches, which are the 7 candlesticks, will bear the warning of Elohim concerning the end time prophecies before the destruction of the world. You know, now let's take a look at a little more with these seven spirits, you know, because we're told that these seven lights are before the throne. Then we go to Revelations 5, 1 through 6, and it says, "And I saw in the right hand of him that sat on the throne a book written within and on the backside, sealed with seven seals. And I saw a strong angel proclaiming with a loud voice, Who is worthy to open the book and to loose the seals thereof? And no man in heaven, nor in earth, nor neither under the earth was able to open the book, neither to look thereon." That's pretty deep. Couldn't even look at it. "And I wept much, because no man was found worthy to open and to read the book, and neither to look thereon. And one of the elders said unto me, Weep not. Behold, the Lion of Yahudah, the root of David, hath prevailed to open the book and to loose the seven seals thereof. And I beheld, and lo, in the midst of the throne and of the four beasts, and in the midst of the elders stood a lamb, as it had been slain, having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 rukot of Elohim sent forth into all the earth." See, what I want you to see is that these are those very same 7 spirits that Yah had in his right hand. These are these very same 7 spirits that are 7 lights burning before the throne of Elohim. These are these very same 7 spirits that's sent into all the earth. And they're going to be sent into all the earth to alight upon the 7 candlesticks of the earth. The 7 churches of the earth in the end times. And they're going to be shedding light in the earth. And that light is going to be the warning of the end times. Yeah. It's going to be the warning that the kingdom of Elohim is about to not be at hand. So you better get in quick. You know, so like unto Genesis 7:1, we see that there is a warning 7 days prior, or 7 lights prior. There's a warning 7 lights prior to the end times, if you have eyes to see. Now, it is the opening of these seals that will begin the warfare in the earth betwixt the forces of evil and the 7 churches of Yahushua. You know, this is when it get ready to all go down. Again, Genesis 7:4, it says, "And I will cause it to rain upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights." So, what does this 40 days and 40 nights speak to? 40 in scriptural numerics speak to tests and trials. So we're talking about tests and trials. So during these 7 lights, when these 7 lights are upon the earth, when these 7 ecclesias are upon the earth and they're warning about the coming disaster that's to come, you know, there's going to be a time of tests and trials. These tests and trials, another name for this is called the tribulation. Matthew 24:15 says, "When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place. Whoso readeth, let him understand." And we're going to jump down to verses 21 through 24 of the same chapter. It says, for then shall be great tribulation. See, that's our testings, our trials. Such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, nor ever shall be. And except those days be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Then, if any man shall say unto you, Lo, here is Mashiach, or there, believe it not. For there shall arise false messiahs and false prophets, and they shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. Now these signs and wonders will be lying signs and wonders. Amen? Amen. You know, we learned that from 2 Thessalonians 2:9. So what I want you to know is that if any man shall say unto you, Lo, here is Messiah, and these great signs, lying signs and wonders Hello, flood. That's your flood right there. Remember we spoke last week about the dragon spewing a flood out of his mouth? That's your flood right there. You know, and it's going to be such a powerful flood that it's going to sweep everything away, even Yah's very elect, if it was possible. But it's not possible.
That's right.
Amen?
Amen.
You know, so what I want you to see is that Yah is going to give us a warning in the end times. And by understanding what happened during the time of Noah, we're going to understand what's going to happen in the time of the end. There will be 7 lights, 7 churches that will be testifying to the goodness of Yahushua, to the covenant of Yahushua. And they're going to be testifying to the coming deluge or the coming destruction that Yah is going to bring upon the earth. And during that time, there's going to be a time of testing and trials. It's going to be a time of great tribulation. So, let's consider. Hold on, did I finish that? I don't think I finished that. Okay, maybe I did. All right, and Noah, Genesis 7, 5, and 6. My next reader, please.
And Noah did according unto all that Yahuwah commanded him. And Noah was 600 years old when the flood of waters was upon the earth. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and the end of the world? And Yahushua answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Messiah, and shall deceive many. And he shall hear of wars and rumors of wars, and see that ye be not troubled. For these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet.
Hallelujah.
Oh.
We was just doing 5 and 6. All right, but Genesis 7, 5, and 6, you know, Noah did everything that Yah told him to do, and it speaks about him being 600 years old when the flood of the waters were upon the earth. So we just was speaking to what the flood of the waters were, right?
Yeah.
You know, now, what I want to point out that the flood of the waters, like I was saying, it was speaking to the time when these false messiahs would be upon the earth. You know, it would be speaking to the time when they would be having these lying signs and wonders. You know, as attested to in Matthew 24, 3 through 11. Sister Chelsea, could you finish reading Matthew 24, 3 through 11?
You want me to start over?
Yes, please.
Okay. And he sat upon the Mount of Olives, and the disciples came to him privately, saying, Tell us when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and the end of the world? And Yahushua answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, and saying, I am Messiah, and shall deceive many. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences, and earthquakes in divers places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. They shall deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And then many shall be offended, and they shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall rise, and shall deceive many.
Hallelujah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we're dealing with here is Noah being 600 years old. And 600 speaks to warfare in the world. And so when we look at the end time prophecy found in Matthew 24, 3 through 11, we see that in verse 6, it tells us that there will be warfare in the world. It says, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. And then verse 7 tells us, for nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in divers places. And all these things are the beginnings of sorrows. You know, what that sound like to me, now I'm not saying that's what it is, but what it sound like to me is World War III. Okay? You know, and, you know, there's another place in Scripture where it actually put earthquakes first. You know, it says, and there shall be earthquakes, and then it speaks of famines and pestilence. And why do I mention that? Because when the earthquakes occur first, it appears to be a natural progression. You know, this is just food for thought. I'm not saying that this is what it is. This is supposition on my part, which I normally don't do, so I probably shouldn't do it, right? So I'm not going to do it. All right, never mind. So, see, I got to reason with myself sometime. All right, so, shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in divers places. These are the beginnings of sorrows. You know, so even if World War III break out, know that that's just the beginning of sorrows. Amen? Okay, but then something's going to happen during that war. And what's going to happen is that warfare in the earth is going to turn out to be a warfare against the saints of Elohim all over the world. Amen? See, and that's what you have to know and understand and be looking out for. Because verse 9 tells us, and then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. So whatever this war is going to be about, the end result of it is going to be the saints against the sinners. The end result is going to be a war with the saints against the sinners. You know, now it may not start out that way, because he tells us when you hear of wars and rumors of wars, and even when nation is rising against nation, kingdom against kingdom, even if World War III break out, that's just the beginning of sorrows. Something going to transpire in that war somehow, some way, that's going to cause the saints to start to get afflicted. Can you see that? They're going to start killing us. And we're going to be hated of all nations for my name's sake. You know, and for those who have eyes to see, you know what's going to, you know, why that's going to be. You know, and it says, and then shall many be offended and betray one another and hate one another. And then it tells it, and many false prophets shall rise and shall deceive many. Let's look at that for a minute, because that's our flood again. You know, that's why I put it in light blue so that you can see, you know, blue the color of water, so that's the flood. Take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Mashiach, and shall deceive many. That's your flood. These false messiahs with the lying signs and wonders, that's your flood. It says they will deceive many. And then it tells you again, a few passages later, they shall deceive many. That is a remez. That's a hint, folks. That's something that you need to take real seriously.
Yeah.
Because they're going to deceive many. That word many is polus. It means mostly all. So keep that in mind. We don't want to be fooled. Amen?
Amen.
Genesis 7 and 8 says, and Noah went in, and his sons and his wife and his sons and his wives with him into the ark because of the waters of the flood, of clean beasts and beasts that are not clean, and of fowls and of everything that creepeth upon the earth. And verse 9, there went in two unto Noah into the ark, the male and the female, as Elohim had commanded Noah. All right, so again, I told you we was going to come back to this clean and unclean thing with the beast. Amen? You know, so just as a reminder, Noah's name means comforter, so this is a representation of the Ruach HaKodesh, you know. And what we're looking at is he's bringing in these beasts. He's bringing in his family, the house of Israel, and he's also bringing in the Gentiles, which speaks to the beast, you know. But he's bringing in, you know, the clean and the unclean, you know. And the clean makes perfect sense to bring the clean in, but the unclean, that makes you wonder, right? Well, we're gonna see why. Just not yet, I guess. Genesis 7:10, and it came to pass after 7 days that the waters of the flood were upon the earth. So we already know what the 7 days symbolize, right? The 7 lights, amen? You know, and we already know what the waters of the flood symbolize, right? You know, the false messiah is doing lying signs and wonders, right? Okay, so we spoke about the seven days being the seven lights. Just as a reminder, we have Revelation 4:5, and out of the throne proceeded lightnings and thunderings and voices, and there were seven lamps or seven lights of fire burning before the throne, which are the seven root code of Elohim. So here it is. We see that we have seven lights that's going to be warning us about the coming destruction that Yah is going to bring upon the earth. Verse 11, it says, in the 600th year of Noah's life, in the second month, the 17th day of the month, the same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken up and the windows of heaven were open. In the 600th year, we spoke about 600 representing warfare in the earth, right? So, and we gave scriptural representation. Matthew 24:6-8. And ye shall hear of the wars and rumors of wars and nation rising against nation and kingdom against kingdom and that all that's in the famines and pestilence and earthquakes and diverse places and all that's just the beginning of sorrows. Amen. So again, I don't think I finished my thought when I was saying that when earthquakes occur before the famines and pestilence, it's like a natural occurrence. Oh yeah, I did. I said I wasn't gonna say that. All right. Never mind. Genesis 7:11. Genesis 7:11. All right. In the 600th year of Noah's life, we spoke about that. It says, in the second month of the 17th day, the same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken up, and the windows of heaven were open. All right. So we're going to deal with the same day that the great deep was broken up. There's something missing. There's something missing. Maybe it's coming. I don't know. It seems like it's missing though. But here it is. Okay, we're going to speak about the great deep broken up. All right, so let me have my next reader read Revelation 9:1-6, and then Revelation 9:11.
And the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven onto the earth, and to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit, as the smoke of a great furnace. And the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. And there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth, and unto them was given power, and the scorpions of the earth had power. And it was commanded that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of Elohim on their foreheads. And to them it was given that they should not kill them, but that they should be tormented 5 months. And their torment was as the torment of a scorpion when he striketh a man. And in those days shall men seek death, and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them. And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon.
Hallelujah. All right, so here it is. We see in verse 11 of Genesis 7 of the account of the flood. Is speaking of in the second month, 17th day of the month, the same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken up. Okay, and so we're going to deal with the deep. What I want you to know is that the word deep here is actually tahom in the Hebrew number 8415, and it means an abyss. And the bottomless pit here in Revelation 9:1 is abusos in the Greek, and it also means an abyss. What I'm trying to show you is that, just as the great deep was broken up then, in the beginning, the great deep will be broken up in the end times as well. And it's speaking to the bottomless pit, where it speaks about star falling from heaven and the key was given to him to the bottomless pit. He opens up the bottomless pit and the locust army comes out. And they had a king that was over that locust army, and he's the angel of the bottomless pit, and it's Abaddon, or in the Greek tongue Apollyon, which means destroyer. in either language. And that's exactly what he's going to be doing, destroying some stuff. Amen? Okay, so here it is. We see that in Genesis 7:11 it speaks of the great deep, and we see in Revelation 9 we also have a great deep that's being broken open. So we see a correlation betwixt the great deep being broken open in the time of Noah and the great deep that's going to be opened up in the end times. Amen. You know, so showing that yes, this element of the beginning story of Noah is also in the end. Now, one thing that I'm gonna have to digress a little bit. One thing we're gonna go back to is in the second month, the 17th day of the month. So I want to speak about that for a second, because we see that this is the time, you know, when Noah was going on the ark. It was in the second month, in the 17th day of the month. And Yah doesn't just give dates arbitrarily. You know, if he puts them out there, they mean something. Amen. You know, and this has always stuck out to me. And, you know, and I just praise Yah that he gave me a understanding of it, because it bugged me for many years. In all actuality, you know, I'm like, why did they go in to the ark on the second month, the 17th day of the month? And the first thing that should come to your mind is Passover. They're very close to Passover, okay? You know, Passover is the first month, though. You know, but, you know, when we consider that Noah is bringing in not just the clean, but also the unclean, then we understand why he didn't do it. He didn't have them go in until the second month. And the reason is found in Numbers chapter 9, verses 10 through 14, which is a law concerning the unclean that wants to keep Passover. It says, "Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, if a man of you or of your posterity shall be unclean by reason of a dead body, or be in a journey afar off, yet he shall keep the Passover unto Yahuwah the 14th day of the second month at even, that they shall keep it and eat it with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. Then shall leave none of it unto the morning, nor break any bone of it, according to all the ordinances of the Passover, they shall keep it. But the man that is clean," now the man that is clean, get this, "and is not in a journey, and forbeareth to keep the Passover, even the same soul shall be cut off from amongst his people." So you can't say, you know, if you're able to keep the Passover at the appropriate time, you can't say, no, I'm going to skip it, I'll just keep it next month. No, doesn't work that way. If you're not on the journey and you're clean and you forbear to keep the Passover, you'll be cut off from your people. Because he brought not the offering of Yahuwah in his appointed season. That man shall bear his sin. And if a stranger shall sojourn among you, and will keep the Passover unto Yahuwah according to the ordinance of the Passover and according to the manner thereof, so shall he do. There go your Gentiles. Ye shall have one ordinance both for the stranger and for him that was born in the land. You know, so, you know, there is a reason for, you know, that Yah allowed Noah, had Noah to go in on the second month in the 17th day. He was giving everyone a chance, the clean and the unclean, to keep the Passover. Now you have to understand that the Passover, because when you understand the Passover, then it really begins to sink in. You know, okay. So that's all I'm gonna say on that for now, because this may pop up again later. But just in case, I got it in. All right. So we talked about the deep being broken up. So now we're going to talk about the windows of heaven that will be open. Because during the time of Noah, it wasn't just rain coming down. The deeps was broken up, and the windows of heaven was open. Amen. That's what we're learning here in Genesis 7:11. So we see reasoning for them going into the ark on the 17th day of the month so that the clean and the unclean can get in. Okay, and then we see the likeness or the similarity in the end times concerning the fountains of the great deep being broken up. Now we're going to take a look at the windows of heaven that will be open, in the end time, and see how it correlates with the windows of heaven that were opened up back in Noah's time. So, to understand this, we go to Daniel chapter 2, 31 through 35. Our next reader, please. Who has the mic? Daniel 2:31. Thou, O king, sawest and behold a great image. This great image whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible. Just a little backdrop to the story. Here it is. We have Daniel. Nebuchadnezzar has a dream. No one can interpret it. None of his wise men can interpret it. So he puts out a decree that, since my wise men and, supposed to be so wise and they can't interpret my dream, I'm going to kill them all. And, but the thing was, to make certain he got the right interpretation of the dream, he told them, you got to also tell me the dream. How about that? He wants you to interpret the dream, but he wants you to tell him the dream before you interpret it. He's not telling you nothing. Only Yah can do that, right? Okay, so Yah does that. He uses Daniel. And then we see what the dream was in Daniel 2, 31 through 35. My next reader, please.
Thou, O king, sawest and behold a great image. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible. This image's head was of fine gold, and breast and his arms of silver, his belly and his thighs of brass, his legs of iron, and his feet part iron and part of clay. Thou sowest till that a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon his feet that were of iron and clay, and break them to pieces. Then was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken into pieces together, and became like the shaft of the summer thrashing floors. And the wind carried them away, that no peace was found for them. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain, and filled the whole earth.
Hallelujah. Okay, so what I want you to see and understand is that the windows of heaven were opened during the time of Genesis, and that the windows of heaven will be opened during the time of the end times. Now, to show you what happened when those windows of heaven were open, just think of Genesis 6. We went over that, but this speaks to it as well. Here it is in Daniel. He's speaking to this dream that Nebuchadnezzar had, and he said his legs of iron and his feet part of iron and part of clay, and he spoke about the whole thing being destroyed, this image being destroyed, and became like shaft of the summer threshing floors. Whenever you see the threshing floor and you see summer fruit or wheat, which is the summer harvest, you think end times. And it says, and the wind carried them away, that no place was found for them. Okay, no place was found for them, right? Okay, now, in conjunction with that, if we look to Revelations 12, 7 through 9, it speaks to this very same time. We're going to put line upon line. And it says, and there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon. Remember, we talk about the 600, meaning warfare in the earth, right? Yeah. So here we have our warfare in the earth, in the heavens, and then he's going to get cast out. We're going to have warfare in the earth. Okay, so it says there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon and fought and his angels and prevailed not. Neither was their place found anymore in heaven. You see the line upon line? That no place was found for them. Neither was their place found anymore in heaven. And Verse 9, and the great dragon was cast out, and the old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. You know, this is the windows of heaven being opened. You know, and the angels of heaven are being cast onto the earth. So here it is, we see who that angel was. It's the dragon, it's the serpent, the devil, Satan. He's cast out and his angels with him. What do you think they're going to do when they get here? They're going to do the same thing that they did when in Genesis 6 when they came to the earth. And it spoke about them taking the daughters of men. Remember we talked about that?
Yes.
You know, and this is also what Daniel also speaks to. You know, now we're going to look at the interpretation of the dream that King Nebuchadnezzar had. Daniel 2:36. You know, this is the dream, and we will tell the interpretation thereof before the king. So he gets in, he starts telling the interpretation. We're just going to cut to the chase of the part we want. And it's verses 41 through 44, and it says, and whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of the potter's clay and part of iron. Remember, it was talked about the feet and toes being mixed together, right? It's okay. It goes on to say, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay. And as the toes of the feet were part of the iron and part of the clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men. So again, pointing to the angels from on high getting with the daughters of men and creating these Geber, these giants in the earth. It says, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. And in the days of these kings shall the Elohim of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed. Hello, kingdom of Elohim. And the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Okay, then Genesis 7:12 tells us, and the rain was upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. Okay, now we remember that the number 40 spoke to trials and tribulations, tests and trials, and it spoke to the great tribulation that will come in the end time, right? You know, so hereby we learn that the rain will also be upon the earth during the time of the flood. You know, but this rain is in the end times. It's not going to be to destroy, as we see here in Noah. It's going to actually do what the rain of Elohim has been doing ever since that time, and that is nourish the crops of the field.
Hallelujah.
Because also in the end time, you know that it speaks of a great harvest, right?
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
You know, and so in order to reap a harvest, you need what? Rain. You know, Yirmiyahu 23:5, 23, and 24. But this people have a revolting and a rebellious heart. They are revolted and gone. Neither say they in their heart, let us now fear Yahuwah our Elohim, that giveth rain, both the former and the latter, in his season. He reserveth unto us the appointed weeks of the harvest. You know, so what I want you to know and understand, that it is Yah who gives the rain in its appointed harvest, in its appointed time, so that we can have a harvest. Amen.
Amen.
You know, Hosea 6:1-3. Come and let us return unto Yahuwah, for he hath torn, he will heal us. He hath smitten, he will bind us up. After 2 days will he revive us. It's been almost 2 days, y'all. It's been almost 2 days, y'all.
Hallelujah.
A day unto Yah is what? 1,000 years. It's been almost 2 days.
Hallelujah.
After 2 days he will revive us. And the third day he will raise us up, and we shall live in his sight. Hallelujah. Then shall we know, if we follow on to know Yahuwah, his going forth is prepared as the morning. He shall come unto us as the rain, as the latter and former rain unto the earth.
Hallelujah.
So we looking forward to that rain. Amen.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Also speaking about this rain, Job chapter 2 verses 18-25. Then will Yahuwah be jealous for his land and pity his people, See, when y'all see us down here going to war and see us getting slaughtered, he's going to be jealous for his land. He's going to pity his people. Yeah, Yahuwah will answer and say unto his people, behold, I will send you corn and wine and oil. I want you to know that the corn and the wine and the oil, that's what went to the priest. So that symbolizes the priest. And ye shall be satisfied therewith. And I will no more make you a reproach among the heathen, but I will remove far off from you the northern army. When you start looking into that, you see that this is a northern army that actually comes up against the south where the saints are. Because the north speaks to the darkness, the south speaks to the light. And will drive him into a barren land and desolate with his face toward the east sea, and his hinder part toward the uttermost sea, and his stink shall come up, and his ill savor shall come up, because he hath done great things. Fear not, O land. Be glad and rejoice, for Yahuwah will do great things. Be not afraid, ye beasts of the field. See, can you see he's talking to the family and to the Gentiles? Yeah. For the pastures of the wilderness do spring. For the tree beareth her fruit. The fig tree and the vine do yield their strength. Be glad, then, ye children of Zion, and rejoice in Yahuwah your Elohim, for he hath given you the former rain moderately, and he will cause to come down for you the rain, the former rain, and the latter rain in the first month. See, he's going to give it to you in the first month in time for the harvest so that you can have it when you get ready to keep Passover. And then he's going to wait around, for the unclean to be able to keep Passover in the second month. And then he's going to bring the destruction. Verse 24, and the floors shall be full of wheat, and the fats shall overflow with wine and oil. Hello, children of the kingdom. Hallelujah. Hello, Levitical priesthood and priesthood of Melchizedek. Hallelujah. And I will restore to you the years that the locusts have eaten. What is he talking about? The cankerworm and the caterpillar and the palmer worm, my great army which I sent among you. He's talking about the locust army. Remember the deep that was broken up, the deep that was opened up, and the locusts came out as a great smoke, and they had a king whose name was Abaddon, the destroyer, who went about destroying. What did he destroy? He destroyed everything that was before his path. Yeah. But Yah says, your floor shall be full of wheat, and the fats shall overflow with wine and oil, and I will restore to you the years that the locusts have eaten. Genesis 7:13 through 16. My next reader, please.
In the selfsame day entered Noah and Shem and Ham and Japheth, the sons of Noah, and Noah's wife, and the 3 wives of his sons with them into the ark. They and every beast after his kind, and all the cattle after their kind, and every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth after his kind, and every fowl after his kind, every bird of every sort. And they went in unto Noah into the ark, 2 and 2 of all flesh, wherein is the breath of life. And they that went in male and female of all flesh, as Elohim had commanded him, and Yahuwah shut him in.
Hallelujah. And so, this just teaches us that there's going to come a time when the doors are going to be closed. There's going to come a time when you're not going to be able to get in. There's going to come a time when it's not going to be convenient for you to enter into the ark. So you need to get into the ark right now while you're able to get into the ark. Matthew 25:10 through 13 says, and while they went to buy, the bridegroom came. And they that were ready went in with him to the marriage, and the door was shut. It's just as a backdrop, we're speaking about the parable of the 10 bridesmaids. And it says afterward, the 10 virgins, rather. Afterward came also the other virgins, saying, Adonai, Adonai, open to us. You don't want this to be you. But he answered and said, verily, verily unto you, I know you not. Watch therefore, for ye know of neither the day nor the hour when the Son of Man cometh. See, I want you to, get in while you can get in right now. Why wait till later? Why wait till everything is going down? Get in now. Get into the covenant of Elohim now. Get into the ark right now.
Hallelujah.
You know, don't wait till the doors are shut. Don't be waiting till, you know, you get there and he's turning you around because he don't know you. Get to know him now while you have the opportunity. You know, I know that you notice that you know, we spoke about, you know, him coming after the time of Passover. Remember in Revelation 12 when it speaks about the dragon, and it speaks about those who overcame him. They overcame him, you know, by the blood of the Lamb and by their testimonies, because they loved not their lives unto the death. You know, so that's how we overcome them, by the blood of the Lamb. We remember, you know, that's where the Passover come in at. We need the blood of the Lamb. We need it upon our doorposts.
Yes.
We know who the Lamb of Elohim is, right? It's Yahshua.
Yes.
You know, so we know we need his blood upon our doorposts.
Yes.
We need his testimony of him and him dying for us on our doorposts, on our mouths. Our mouths are our doorposts. You know, and that's what we give testimony with. So we're to testify, you know, with the blood of the Lamb on our doorposts. You know, so we're not only to get into the covenant, we're to try to get other people into the covenant as well. So everyone who wants to keep the Passover of Elohim, the clean as well as the unclean, might have an opportunity to do so. Amen.
Amen.
You know, so seek ye first the kingdom of Elohim and his righteousness. You know, get into the ark while the doors of the ark are open, because there's coming a time when Yah is going to shut the doors.
That's right.
Genesis 7:17 through 20. My next reader, please.
And the flood was 40 days upon the earth, and the waters increased and bare up the ark, and it was lifted up above the earth. And the waters prevailed and were increased greatly upon the earth, and the ark went upon the face of the waters. And the waters prevailed exceedingly upon the earth, and all the high hills that were under the whole heaven were covered. 15 cubits upward did the water prevail, and the mountains were covered.
Hallelujah. Okay, so now we see that they're in the ark, and the waters are increased and bear up the ark, and it was lifted above the earth. So what I want you to understand, you know, is that this is going to happen again. You know, once you get in the ark, once you're in the covenant of Elohim, you know, the covenant of Yahshua, Elohim, and it begins to be lifted up. The waters are gonna increase, and it's gonna bear up the ark. It's gonna go up to 15 cubits upward, where the waters prevail. 15 is the number of rest. You know, this is just simply a picture of the end times when we will be at rest in Yahshua. It's spoken of in Revelation 6:9. It says, and when he had opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altar the souls of them that were slain for the word of Elohim and for the testimony which they held. These are the ones that overcame the dragon, overcame the serpent and the flood that came out of his mouth. Amen. You know, and they cried with a loud voice, saying, how long, O Adonai, holy and true, dost thou not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwell on the earth? You know, and if we jump, verse 11 tells us, and white robes were given unto them, every one of them, and he said unto them that they should rest yet for a little season, until their fellow servants also and their brethren that should be killed as they were should be fulfilled. You know, so it's a little different, you know, in the end times. We're going to be in the ark, and we're going to be saved from being in the ark, but while we're in the ark, we're actually going to be dying. In a sense, we're going to be dying. Our flesh is going to be dying. You know, when you get in the ark, your flesh is going to die.
Yeah.
You got to know this. You got to know this. See, this is how you enter into rest. You enter into rest by your flesh dying. You enter into rest by the enemy slaughtering you, by you submitting unto, by you going like Yahshua did, even as a lamb to the slaughter. He said, I send you as sheep in the midst of wolves. What do you think wolves do to sheep? You know, see, but you have to understand that this is all a part of Yah's plan. You know, and if you're in the covenant, this is what it's going to look like, you know, in the end times when the ark be lifted up above the earth. See, you're going to be slaughtered as a sheep going to the slaughter, because you're going to be a sacrifice.
Yes, yes.
Don't never forget that Yahshua is a high priest, and priests offer sacrifices. Genesis 7, 21 and 22. My next reader, please.
And all the flesh died that moved upon the earth, both of fowl, and of cattle, and of beast, and of every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth, and every man. All in whose nostrils was the breath of life, of all that was in the dry land died.
All right, hallelujah. So it says, all flesh died that moved upon the earth, both of fowl and of cattle and of beast and of every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth, and every man, and all in whose nostrils was the breath of life, of all that was in the dry land died. And actually verse 23 says, and every living substance was destroyed, which was upon the face of the ground, both man and cattle, and the creeping things, and the fowl of heaven, and they were destroyed from the earth, and Noah only remained alive, and they that were with him in the ark. I forgot to put that up there, but I read it for you. And verse 24 says, and the waters prevailed upon the earth 150 days. Okay, so here it is. It's saying that all flesh that moved upon the earth died. See, and this is what I'm trying to get you to see, that those of us that in the ark, those of us that will be in the ark, there will be no flesh in the ark. You have to die. There is no flesh in the ark. See, this is what the Messiah was talking about in Yochanan 3 through 6. Yahushua answered and said unto him, verily, verily, I say unto you, except a man be born again, he cannot see the kingdom of Elohim. Because there won't be no flesh in the ark. Nicodemus said unto him, how can a man be born when he is old? Can he enter the second time into his mother's womb and be born? Yahushua answered, verily, verily, I say unto thee, except a man be born of water and of the Ruach, he cannot enter into the kingdom of Elohim. That which is born of flesh is what? Flesh. And that which is born of the Ruach is Ruach. You know, so you have to understand this. You cannot get into that ark being a flesh being. The flesh has to die. The flesh has to die. 1 Corinthians 15:50, now this I say, brethren, that flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of Elohim. Neither do of corruption inherit incorruption. You know, we have to become spiritual beings. We have to start walking in the spirit and stop walking in our flesh. We got to cease doing the lust of the flesh. And we have to start walking in the Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit, so that we won't fulfill the lust of the flesh. You know, those that do righteously are righteous, not those who just think they righteous. You know, it speaks about the waters prevailing upon the earth 150 days. 100 speaks to the election of grace or the children of promise, and that's what's going to be on that ark. Yah's election of grace is children of promise. The number 50 speaks to the Ruach HaKodesh, and that this election of grace or children of promise will have the Ruach HaKodesh. They would have his Holy Spirit. They will even be spirit. You know, and they will be celebrating, even as 50 also speaks to a celebration. It speaks to the Jubilee because it will be a Jubilee, and it speaks to freedom because they will finally be free. You know, so, you know, if you get nothing else from this, I want you to try to get that you need to get on that ark. You know, that you need to make certain that you don't find yourself clinging to the wrong rock. When the flood comes. Because when the flood comes, if you clinging to the wrong rock like these folks, then the ark gonna pass you by. See, there's many rocks out there. You see them, you see these people on all these other rocks. That's not the rock you want to be clinging to. You know, so if you get it right and you get on that, and you get on the right, you get on the ark and you cling to the right rock, you'll find yourself at peace with Yahushua.
That's right.
You know, and that's where we want to be. That's all I have for you today. Pray it was a blessing.